All right, here we are, week 5 wrap-up, debrief, update, whatever I call this thing. More of the same, right? Civil unrest in the United States is the biggest thing on my mind, as with many people. As I mentioned before, I'm just a mere 90 minutes away from downtown Minneapolis, St. Paul. So a lot of these activities are too close for home, literally. Yeah, so there's that. And I guess I should start paying a little more attention internationally. We have a carrier strike group position now right off of Iran, centered around the Abraham Lincoln supercarrier. So we're in a position to do a little more carnage in Iran if things don't de-escalate there. So yeah, not too concerned with that. I think it's going to kind of just blow over. Biggest impacts for that would be some type of sleeper cell stuff that people always fantasize about, but never seems to come to fruition in the U.S. as far as attacks on our grids and everything. That's we've been heard. Let's go on a little tangent, shall we? We always hear that there's Islamic terrorist sleeper cells backed by Iran in the U.S. just waiting for the password to start blowing up hospitals and substations and power plants and water treatment plants and all that stuff. But you think that when we bombed their nuclear sites last year, things would have kicked off then, wouldn't they? I don't know. Or when the whole thing with Hamas and Israel kicked off 2 years ago, and Israel was into the West Bank and all that kind of stuff. You think it would have kicked off then, wouldn't you? I don't know. Maybe they're waiting for something bigger. I don't know. It just seems like it's a big hyped up thing that people always say. There's sleeper cells. They're everywhere. Well, what are they waiting for? Could be wrong. I hope I'm not, because if I am, then yeah, things will go nasty. So I guess that is a little bit on the back of my mind. And, what can you do to prepare for that? What I've already done, stock up on propane for my generator, have my solar generators and batteries topped off, even though this time of the year solar isn't going to do me much good, but you know the drill. Have ways to power your essentials in case you go out of power for an extended period of time, which we're dealing with naturally right now through a good part of the United States, right? We kind of missed it last week because I was all focused on the shooting down in Minneapolis, but nasty storm. Ice storms are nasty everywhere, but they're especially in the south. Lots of snow, lots of ice, lots of power outages. I think, a week into it now, there's still people without power. So have a plan to at least keep your essentials going for an extended period of time. Keep your fridge and refrigerator going. A lot of people don't think about it. If they have a propane furnace, they think, oh, I don't need electricity. Well, if it's forced air, you do. So have means for keeping your primary heat going, whether with a generator of some sort, so you can run it at certain times, just to take the chill off. Find alternative ways to heat your home, all that kind of stuff, or have a plan to egress to a warmer situation. As a good friend of mine down in Mississippi can point out, I believe he's still without power. His house is getting cold, but his in-laws, which are just a few miles away, they have power. So always keep in mind that even though you may be zonked, friends, family not too far away can be a resource. So network. Always have options. And always be willing to take in a guest. I think I mentioned that last week. It's not a bad idea to have some blow-up air mattresses, sleeping bags, cots, so you can turn your living room into a makeshift bedroom if your in-laws need a warm place to stay, or your neighbor, or your friends, or what have you. All right, now to the meat and the potatoes of it. What's going down in the cities? It seems to have calmed down a little bit. It looks like mixed reports. It seems like the local governments are working a little bit more with the feds, with the anticipation that the feds are going to reduce their presence, which I think is a good idea. So everybody quit doubling down on stupid and take a few steps back. We'll see how that goes. It's maybe getting into a lull where it's not trendy for the kids to be out protesting. And especially when you can see when things get a little out of hand, they can get really out of hand really quick. So I'll spare you my speech of avoiding protests, even if you're all for it and you know everybody that you're going there with is peaceful. You know that drill. I do have my eyes out a few months ahead. There's already rumblings about the next No Kings protest. That's going to be, basically 2 months from now. I scoped out their website, and a lot has changed since the last one. The big map showing all the locations is not viewable by public. And there's a lot of stuff where it's, give us your name, your phone number, and email so we can keep in touch type of stuff. So not much information available for the general public anymore. I think they're being a little more secure on who they're sharing their details with, which you would kind of expect. I'm not going to sign up for it, but we'll see. Two things that struck me as odd, or not odd, but to be noted, is on their homepage, they listed out how successful their last things were, where they had 12 or 14 or 15 time turnout than both of Trump's inaugurations. Obviously everything is against Trump. Trump is the Antichrist in their views, even though they don't like the term, whatever. But that's kind of a silly stat to say that the No Kings is X times more of a turnout than the inauguration, because there weren't pop-up inauguration rallies on as many places as they could establish them. People that went to the inauguration went to the inauguration in DC, which is a very small group. There's large, but they're factoring in like the gathering they had at the Four Corners in the next town over, where there was 50 people there. You have 500 groups of 50 people, that's going to bump your numbers up quite a bit. So that's a little misleading, but they're going to throw any stat they can make up to say how they're better than Trump, which you would expect. And let's not pull any punches. The other side does the exact same thing. The old saying goes, I digress. You get the point. They're making things up to put themselves in a better light. Anything they can say against Trump, they're going to go, because, hey, why wouldn't you waste that target? The other thing I noticed, and I would like you to notice too, is go to nokings.org. I imagine I just typed in No Kings and Google brought me there. But they had a sponsors page or supporters page, and it's logo after logo after logo of NGOs, all these vague charitable organizations that are government funded. So yes, your tax money is funding this, just like your tax money is funding a lot of the protests that you're seeing against ICE. Your opinion on that is yours. It is interesting. I will share a link below from this week's weekly update from the S2 Underground. He goes into much more detail why he thinks a strike in Iran is probable. And I share a link to a recent video from Ryan McBeth where he goes over the funding that we're seeing in Minneapolis, how it's organized and everything. There's a lot of people, the conservative types, that are, rolling their eyes at the lefties, the blue hairs or whatever. But one thing they got more than their adversaries in this culture war is organization and logistics. Logistics wins things. While a lot of the red hat type people are talking about stocking up on guns and ammo and they got their tactical stuff, their opponents are doing the logistics side of things. So, gotta go. That's enough rambling for this week. Catch you later.